The crowded shopping mall buzzed with activity as shoppers hurried past the small girl huddled in the corner, her face streaked with tears, her desperate sobs drowned out by the ambient noise of commerce and conversation. No one stopped. No one even glanced her way, as if the child's distress was nothing more than background static in their busy lives. But across the food court, a German Shepherd service dog named Max suddenly lifted his head, ears perked his body, tensing as he caught the sound no human seemed to notice. His owner, Sarah, was confused when Max began pulling insistently at his harness, breaking his perfect training for the first time in 3 years. What happened next would demonstrate the extraordinary bond between children and animals and reveal a shocking truth that had been hidden in plain sight for months. Before we continue this heart-wrenching story of an animal's incredible intuition, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel so you never miss another remarkable tale of the special connection between children and the animals who protect them when humans fail to notice. Sarah Jenkins had learned to trust Max's instincts over the past 3 years. The German Shepherd had an uncanny ability to sense her panic attacks before they fully formed, pulling her back from the edge of darkness when the memories of Kabul threatened to overwhelm her. But this was different. Max had never broken protocol in public, not even once. "Max Heel?" Sarah whispered, her voice tight with anxiety. The crowded mall was already pushing her comfort limits, the press of bodies, the cacophony of sounds, the overwhelming sensory input that could so easily trigger an episode. She had only ventured here to continue her exposure therapy, working gradually to reclaim the normal life that had been shattered by an IED on her 3rd deployment. But Max wasn't listening, his dark eyes fixed on something across the food court, his powerful body tense with urgency. Sarah followed his gaze and spotted what had captured his attention. A small girl, perhaps 5 or 6 years old, huddled against a wall, her knees pulled to her chest, her face hidden behind a curtain of tangled brown hair. Sarah hesitated, torn between maintaining control of her service animal and investigating what had triggered his unusual behavior. Max whined softly, looking back at Sarah with pleading eyes, then again toward the child. His meaning couldn't have been clearer if he'd spoken aloud. "Okay," Sarah relented. "Show me." Max moved forward, purposefully navigating through the maze of tables and distracted shoppers, with Sarah following close behind. The girl didn't look up as they approached, her small body shaking with silent sobs. Sarah noticed she was wearing a long-sleeved shirt despite the summer heat, an immediate red flag from her military training on recognizing signs of abuse. "Hey, there," Sarah said softly, kneeling a few feet away. The child flinched, pulling herself into an even tighter ball. "It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you. This is Max, he's a very friendly dog." At the mention of the dog, the girl peeked through her fingers, her tear-swollen eyes widening slightly at the sight of Max. The German Shepherd sat perfectly still, his posture non-threatening, his intelligent eyes gentle. "Would you like to meet him?" Sarah asked. The girl hesitated, then gave a barely perceptible nod. Sarah signaled to Max, who inched forward slowly until he was within the girl's reach. With trembling fingers, the child extended her hand. Max nuzzled it gently, and something remarkable happened. The girl's breathing steadied. "My name is Sarah," she continued, keeping her voice soft and even. "What's yours?" The girl withdrew her hand, wrapping her arms back around her knees, shaking her head in refusal or fear. Sarah couldn't tell which. "That's okay, you don't have to tell me," Sarah assured her. "But is there someone here with you? Your mom or dad?" The mention of parents triggered an immediate reaction. The girl's face crumpled, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. Max whined again and did something he'd never done with anyone but Sarah. He moved closer, resting his head gently on the girl's knee. The child froze for a moment, then buried her fingers in his fur. "Lily," came the whispered response so faint, Sarah almost missed it. "My name is Lily." "It's nice to meet you, Lily," Sarah said, relief washing through her. "Are you lost?" Lily shook her head, still petting Max with shaking fingers. "Did you come here with someone?" Sarah tried again. "Stepfather," Lily whispered the word like it was poisonous, "but I ran away. He'll be mad." Something in the way she said it raised the hairs on the back of Sarah's neck. Her military training had included recognizing signs of trauma and abuse, and everything about this child screamed danger. The long sleeves in summer, the fear response, the hiding. "Lily," Sarah said carefully, "are you afraid to go back to your stepfather?" The child nodded, then leaned close to Max's ear, as if sharing a secret. "He hurts me," she whispered, but loud enough for Sarah to hear. "And Mommy too." Sarah's heart contracted, her own trauma momentarily forgotten in the face of this child's distress. She knew she needed to get help, but also recognized that authorities didn't always handle these situations well. As a veteran, she'd seen the system fail too many times. "How about we find someone who can help?" Sarah suggested. "There are people whose job it is to keep children safe." Lily's grip on Max tightened. "No police," she pleaded. "He said they wouldn't believe me. He said they'd take me away forever." Classic abuser tactics, Sarah recognized, threatening the child with worse outcomes if they reported. "There are other people besides police," she assured Lily, "and Max and I will stay with you the whole time, okay?" Lily studied Sarah's face, searching for deception. Whatever she saw there must have reassured her, because she gave another small nod. "Max stays," she confirmed. "Ome Max stays," Sarah promised. As if understanding his role in this unfolding drama, Max settled more firmly beside Lily, his body a barrier between her and the rest of the world. Sarah had never seen him behave this way. With anyone else, Max was trained to focus exclusively on her needs, to monitor her emotional state, and provide support during episodes. Yet here he was, clearly responding to this child's distress with the same dedication. Sarah pulled out her phone, considering who to call. Mall security would be the logical first step, but something told her this situation required more specialized intervention. Lily had gone quiet again, her small hand buried in Max's fur, her eyes darting nervously around the food court. "Lily," Sarah asked gently, "is your stepfather still in the mall? Might he be looking for you?" "Evom," the girl's face paled. "He'll be so mad," she whispered. "He said, if I ever told—" Sarah didn't need to hear the rest. "It's going to be okay," she promised, though she wasn't entirely sure how she would keep that promise. "Max and I are going to help you." Sarah decided that mall security was the necessary first step. Despite her misgivings, she needed to establish some official record of finding Lily rather than simply walking out with someone else's child, regardless of the circumstances. She helped Lily to her feet, noticing how the girl kept one hand firmly gripped in Max's fur as if he were a lifeline in a stormy sea. "We're going to talk to the security office," Sarah explained gently. "They can help us contact the right people." Lily's eyes widened with fear. "But he'll find me." "Max and I won't let that happen," Sarah assured her with more confidence than she felt. The German shepherd seemed to understand, standing closer to Lily, his body positioned protectively. The security office was located near the main entrance, a small room with monitoring screens showing various angles of the mall. The guard at the desk, a heavy-set man with thinning hair, looked up as they entered, his expression shifting from boredom to mild interest. "Can I help you?" he asked, his eyes lingering on Max's service vest. "I found this child alone in the food court," Sarah explained. "She appears to be separated from her guardian." The guard's interest immediately waned. This was clearly a routine occurrence in his world. "Name?" he asked, directing the question at Lily, who shrank back against Sarah. "Her name is Lily," Sarah answered when it became clear the child wasn't going to speak. "She's frightened, and I have reason to believe she may be in an unsafe situation." This caught the guard's attention. though not in the way Sarah had hoped. Unsafe how? He asked skeptically. Sarah chose her words carefully. Aware that Lily was listening, she has indicated she's afraid to return to her stepfather, and I've observed some concerning signs that suggest potential domestic issues. The guard sighed heavily. Look, ma'am, we get this all the time. Kid gets in trouble, parent gets strict, kid runs away claiming abuse. 9 times out of 10, it's nothing. Sarah felt a flare of anger, but controlled it. I'd like you to contact social services, she said firmly. I believe this situation warrants professional assessment. Protocol is to call the parents first, the guard replied, reaching for his phone. What's the stepfather's name, sweetheart? Lily began trembling violently at this. Max immediately pressed against her legs, his training kicking in as he sensed extreme distress. Please don't call him, she whispered, please. Sarah placed herself between Lily and the guard. I'm a veteran with training in recognizing trauma, she said, her voice taking on the authoritative tone that had served her well as a sergeant. This child is showing clear signs of abuse, and I am formally requesting you follow mandatory reporting protocols which require contacting Child Protective Services, not the potential abuser. The guard hesitated, clearly unused to being challenged. I need to follow mall policy, and I need you to follow the law, Sarah countered, pulling out her phone, which I'm happy to explain to your supervisor, or I can call social services myself from right here. A second security guard entered the room, a younger woman who assessed the situation quickly. What's happening, Tom? Beatty. Before the male guard could answer, Sarah addressed the newcomer. I've found a child showing signs of abuse who is afraid to return to her guardian. I'm requesting social services be contacted immediately. The female guard nodded. I'll make the call, she said, much to her colleague's obvious annoyance. We have a relationship with the county crisis team. They can send someone right away. She knelt down to Lily's level. Hi there, I'm Julie. Would you and your dog friend like to wait in our break room? We have juice and some cookies. Lily looked to Sarah for guidance. It's okay, Sarah assured her. Max and I will stay with you the whole time. The child nodded slightly, still maintaining her grip on Max's fur. The break room was small but comfortable, with a couch and small table. Julie brought juice boxes and a package of cookies, setting them down before addressing Sarah. The crisis counselor will be here in about 20 minutes. Can you tell me more about what you observed? Sarah recounted finding Lily how Max had alerted to her distress and the concerning signs she'd noticed, including Lily's fear of her stepfather and her statement that he hurt her. Julie took notes, her expression growing more serious. You did the right thing, she told Sarah. Tom means well, but he hasn't had the training for these situations. She glanced at Lily, who was offering a cookie to Max. Has she mentioned any specific incidents? Sarah shook her head. Just that her stepfather hurts her and her mother, and that she ran away from him here at the mall. Julie nodded. The crisis counselor will know how to talk to her. You're welcome to stay, given your dog's obvious rapport with her. Sarah had no intention of leaving. Max had placed himself firmly beside Lily on the couch, his body between her and the door, his attention fully focused on the child. Sarah had never seen him form such an immediate bond with anyone else. Lily had pulled a small stuffed bear from her pocket and was hugging it tightly while leaning against Max. The bear looked worn and well-loved, one ear slightly tattered, its plush matted from countless embraces. That's a nice bear, Sarah commented, hoping to keep Lily calm while they waited. Lily held it closer. Teddy keeps my secrets, she whispered. He remembers everything. Something about the way she said it struck Sarah as odd, but before she could ask more, Julie returned. The crisis counselor is here. Her name is Elena. A woman in her 30s with curly dark hair and kind eyes entered, carrying a briefcase. She introduced herself as Elena Cortez from County Child Protective Services. Sarah watched as she took in the scene, Lily huddled against Max, the service dog maintaining his protective posture. Hello, Lily, Elena said warmly, sitting at a comfortable distance. I see you've made friends with this beautiful dog. Lily nodded slightly. His name is Max. He heard me when nobody else did. Elena smiled. Dogs are amazing that way. They hear things we sometimes miss. She settled into her chair. Would it be okay if we talked a little bit? Max can stay right beside you. Lily looked up at Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. I'll be right here too, Sarah assured her, as Elena began speaking softly to Sarah watched the door, wondering if somewhere in this mall Lily's stepfather was searching for her, and what would happen when he found out where she was. Elena had clearly done this many times before. She spoke to Lily in gentle tones, asking simple questions that gradually built a picture without overwhelming the child. She began with neutral topics, favorite colors, animal school, before carefully steering toward more difficult terrain. Lily, can you tell me about your teddy bear? Elena asked. The child clutched the worn stuffed animal tighter. Teddy keeps me safe. He looks like a very good protector. Elena smiled. Has he been with you a long time? Lily nodded. Mommy gave him to me after Daddy went to heaven. She said he'd watch over me. She lowered her voice to a whisper. He has special powers. Sarah noticed Elena's interest sharpen, though her expression remained casual. What kind of special powers? Instead of answering, Lily leaned close to Max's ear, whispering something. The German Shepherd stayed perfectly still, his dark eyes watching the child with what seemed like understanding. Elena tried a different approach. I understand you. We're at the mall with your stepfather today. Can you tell me what happened? Lily's face clouded. He was mad at me for spilling juice on his car seat. He said. She trailed off, her small fingers twisting in Max's fur. It's okay, Lily. Elena assured her, you're not in trouble. We just want to understand so we can help. He said I was stupid and worthless, and he was going to teach me a lesson when we got home, Lily continued in a small voice. He was so angry, his face got all red and scary. When he went to buy something, I ran away and hid. Sarah felt a cold, anger building in her chest, recognizing the familiar pattern of emotional abuse that often accompanied physical violence. Max seemed to sense her tension, shifting slightly to press against her leg while maintaining contact with Lily, a remarkable display of his training and intuition. Elena nodded, writing something in her notepad. Lily, do you feel safe at home? The child's response was immediate and telling. She shook her head vigorously, tears welling in her eyes again. Can you tell me why you don't feel safe? Elena prompted gently. Lily looked down at her bear, then back at Max, as if gathering courage. From both, Rob. That's my stepdad. He gets really mad a lot. He hurts Mommy and sometimes me too. With trembling fingers, she began to roll up one sleeve, revealing a pattern of bruises in various stages of healing, some clearly in the shape of fingerprints. Sarah inhaled sharply while Elena maintained her professional composure, though her eyes hardened. Thank you for showing us, Lily. That was very brave. She made another note. Does your mom know that Rob hurts you? Lily nodded. She tries to stop him, but then he hurts her worse. She cries a lot when she thinks I'm asleep. Elena exchanged glances with Sarah, communicating volumes in that brief look. Lily, I need to make some phone calls to make sure you stay safe. Would it be okay if Sarah and Max stay with you while I do that? When Lily nodded, Elena stepped outside, leaving Sarah alone with the child and her service dog. Max had not moved from his protective position, his normally alert posture dedicated entirely to Lily. Sarah had never seen him so, focused on anyone other than herself. You're very good with Max, Sarah commented, trying to keep the conversation natural. He doesn't usually make friends so quickly. Lily stroked the dog's fur. He knows I need him. Animals always know. She hesitated, then added, we had a dog once before Rob came to live with us. His name was Buddy, and he tried to bite Rob when Rob hit Mommy. Rob took him away and said he went to a farm, but her voice dropped to a whisper. I think he did something bad to Buddy. Sarah felt sick imagining what might have happened to the family pet. Animal cruelty often accompanied domestic violence, another red flag that this situation was serious. Max. is very brave, Lily continued. Like Teddy, you know. She held up her bear. Want to see his special powers? Before Sarah could respond, Lily pressed the teddy bear's paw. To Sarah's surprise, a tiny red light glowed in the bear's chest, and a small voice emerged from within. It was a woman's voice, tight with fear. Rob, please don't. Lily's just a child she didn't mean to. The sound of something breaking followed by a man's voice, slurred and menacing. You're both useless. I swear to God, I'll... Lily pressed the paw again, stopping the recording. Mommy put a special recorder inside Teddy, she explained matter-of-factly. She said if anything bad happened to her, Teddy would tell the truth. Sarah stared at the stuffed animal in shock, realizing its significance. This wasn't just a child's comfort object, but evidence, a deliberate documentation of abuse. Lily's mother had been secretly gathering proof, perhaps knowing that her word alone wouldn't be enough. Lily, this is very important, Sarah said, trying to keep her voice steady. Does Rob know about Teddy's special power? Here come Mike. The child shook her head. It's a secret only Mommy and me know. And now you and Max. Her face suddenly crumpled. But Mommy will be so scared when she can't find me. Rob will be mad at her too. Sarah gently placed her hand on Lily's small shoulder. You did the right thing, Lily. Teddy's special power is going to help keep both you and your mommy safe. Elena returned her expression serious. I've spoken with my supervisor, she told Sarah quietly. Based on Lily's disclosure and the physical evidence, we're implementing emergency removal. We need to find Mom and document her situation as well. Sarah nodded. There's something else you should hear. She glanced at Lily. Can you show Elena Teddy's special power? As the recorded sounds of abuse filled the small room, Elena's professional composure momentarily slipped, revealing anger and determination. This changes everything, she said. We need to contact police immediately and get a protective order. Julie, the security guard, knocked on the door, her expression urgent. We may have a situation. She said, there's a man at the information desk demanding to know if anyone's turned in his stepdaughter. He seems volatile. Lily's reaction was immediate and visceral. She began trembling violently, her breathing coming in short, panicked gasps. Max pressed against her, his training kicking in as he sensed her distress. The German shepherd made a low sound in his throat, not quite a growl, but a clear signal of protection. He can't come in here, Sarah said firmly, positioning herself between Lily and the door. Julie, can you make sure he stays at the information desk? The security guard nodded, Tom stalling him, saying we're checking our lost and found database. But this guy's getting aggressive, demanding to see security footage. Elena had already pulled out her phone. I'm calling for police backup, she said, stepping into the corner of the room. We need to keep Lily out of sight until they arrive. Sarah knelt beside Lily, who was now curled against Max, her face buried in his fur. Hey, Lily, listen to me. You're safe here. We won't let him take you. The child's panic was all too familiar to Sarah, who recognized the physical manifestations of terror from her own PTSD episodes. Max is going to stay right with you, Sarah continued, speaking in the calm, measured voice she used during her own worst moments. Can you feel how steady he is? Try to match your breathing to his. Lily nodded against Max's fur, her small hand clutching Sarah's. Gradually, her breathing slowed as she followed Sarah's guidance. Max remained perfectly still, a solid anchor in the storm of the child's emotions. Elena returned, her expression grim. Police are 10 minutes out. They've dealt with this man before. Previous reports, Sarah asked, keeping her voice low. Elena nodded. 3 separate calls to the residence in the past year. No charges filed. The mother always recanted, claimed accidents or misunderstandings. She glanced at Lily, then back to Sarah. Classic pattern, unfortunately. Julie peeked back in. He's demanding to speak to a manager, threatening to sue the mall. Claims his lying brat of a stepdaughter is making trouble again. Lily flinched at the words. Sarah felt a cold fury building, but forced herself to remain outwardly calm for Lily's sake. I need to go out there, Elena said. Establish official contact and keep him occupied until police arrive. She turned to Sarah. Can you stay with Lily? We're not going anywhere, Sarah assured her. After Elena and Julie left, Sarah sat beside Lily, who was still pressed against Max. Can I see Teddy again? She asked gently. Lily handed over the worn bear, her eyes wary. Sarah examined it carefully, noting how the voice recorder had been cleverly sewn into the stuffing, accessible only through a hidden seam. This was no impulsive action, but a deliberate, planned by a mother desperate to protect her child and herself. Your mom is very smart, Sarah commented. She's a nurse, Lily said, a hint of pride breaking through her fear. She helps people get better. She says evidence is important. The clinical term struck Sarah as incongruous, coming from a 5-year-old. How many recordings does Teddy have? She asked. Lots, Lily replied. Mommy showed me how to make them work. There's a button inside Teddy's ear that starts it, and his paw stops it. She demonstrated pressing a nearly invisible bump in the bear's ear, then the paw again. Sarah was impressed by both the mother's ingenuity and her foresight in teaching Lily how to operate the device. Does your mom have a phone where we could call her, let her know you're safe? Lily shook her head. Rob broke it last week. He said she was probably talking to other men. Another red flag Sarah noted mentally. Isolation was a common tactic of abusers. A commotion erupted from the direction of the mall's main concourse. Raised voices, a crash. Then Julie appeared at the door, her expression urgent. He's demanding. To search the security area, claims we're hiding his kid. Elena's trying to talk him down, but he's escalating. Sarah made a quick decision. Is there another way out of here? A back exit? Julie nodded. Staff entrance through the break room leads to the service corridor. Get us out that way, Sarah instructed. We need to keep Lily away from him until police arrive. Max was already on alert, his posture shifting as he sensed the tension in the room. Sarah helped Lily to her feet, keeping her voice steady and reassuring. We're going to play a quiet game, Lily, like hide and seek. We need to be very quiet and follow Julie, okay? The child nodded, clutching Teddy in one hand and Max's fur in the other. The German Shepherd moved smoothly beside her, his body positioned between Lily and any potential threat. Julie led them through the break room to a nondescript door marked Staff Only. The service corridor beyond was dimly lit, concrete floors and cinder block walls lined with pipes and electrical conduits. This runs behind all the stores, Julie explained in a hushed voice. Delivery access and maintenance. They had gone, perhaps 50 feet, when a door slammed somewhere behind them. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor, followed by a man's voice. I know you're hiding her back here. Lily froze, terror blanching her face. Max's reaction was instantaneous and unexpected. He placed himself directly in front of Lily, his body rigid, his ears forward. Sarah had never seen this posture from him outside of his protection training scenarios. Julie, can you get her further down the corridor? Sarah whispered. I'll delay him. The security guard nodded, taking Lily's hand. Come with me, sweetie. But Lily wouldn't move her feet, seemingly rooted to the spot. He'll hurt you, she whispered to Sarah, like he hurts Mommy when she tries to stop him. Sarah knelt quickly, looking directly into Lily's frightened eyes. Max won't let that happen, and neither will I. We need you to be safe. That's most important right now. Max made a soft sound, turning to nuzzle Lily's hand as if reinforcing Sarah's words. Something in his gentle insistence seemed to reach the child. She nodded, finally allowing Julie to lead her further down the corridor. Sarah turned to face the approaching footsteps, Max at her side. She placed her hand on his head. Stay, she commanded firmly, though every instinct told her to send him with Lily. But Max was her service dog, her medical equipment in the eyes of the law. She couldn't legally command him to protect someone else. The footsteps grew louder, a shadow appearing on the wall. Sarah straightened her shoulders, calling on every bit of her military training to prepare for the confrontation to come. The man who rounded the corner was tall and broad-shouldered, with the muscular build of someone who spent time at the gym. His face was flushed with anger. Eyes narrowed as he spotted Sarah and Max blocking the corridor. He wore expensive, casual clothes and a watch that probably cost more than Sarah's monthly disability payment. Not the stereotypical image of an abuser, but Sarah knew better than most that monsters rarely look the part. "Where's my kid?" he demanded, advancing towards Sarah. Sarah stood her ground, Max perfectly positioned at her side. "Sir, you need to stop and wait for the police. They've been called and are on their way." The man's face contorted. "Police? What the hell are you talking about? I'm looking for my stepdaughter. She ran off while we were shopping." He attempted to step around Sarah. "Lily, get out here now." Max shifted subtly, his body still technically in a heel position, but angled to maintain the blockade. He made no sound, but his presence was unmistakably protective. "Your stepdaughter is safe," Sarah said, keeping her voice calm and authoritative, using the de-escalation techniques she'd learned both in the military and in therapy. Child Protective Services is involved now. The best thing you can do is wait and speak with them and the police when they arrive." Something dangerous flickered in the man's eyes, a calculating coldness, replacing the angry bluster. "You have no right to keep me from my kid," he said, his voice suddenly controlled. "I'm Rob Morris, Lily's legal guardian. Whoever told you otherwise is interfering with my parental rights." "I'm not keeping you from anyone," Sarah replied. "I'm simply waiting here until the authorities arrive. If there's been a misunderstanding, they'll sort it out." Rob's gaze shifted to Max, sizing up the German Shepherd. "That mutt better not get in my way," he warned. "I'll sue you into oblivion if it bites me." Sarah felt Max tense beside her, his training warring with his protective instincts. "He's a certified service dog and won't bite unless I'm physically attacked." She deliberately didn't mention that Max had indeed been trained in protection techniques, part of her specialized service dog package. "Listen, lady," Rob's voice dropped, becoming almost reasonable. "I don't know what Lily told you, but she has problems. Behavioral issues, developmental delays. She makes up stories for attention. Her therapist is working with her, but sometimes she runs off and creates these fantasies." He smiled, a practiced, concerned parent smile that didn't reach his eyes. "It's really kind of you to be concerned, but this is a family matter." The smooth pivot to concerned father was textbook. Sarah had seen this manipulative tactic before. She wondered how many teachers, social workers, and police officers had been taken in by this performance. "As I said," Sarah repeated, "CPS is involved now. If Lily has special needs, as you claim, they'll make sure she gets appropriate care." Rob's facade cracked slightly. "What exactly did that little liar tell you?" he demanded, taking a step closer. Max responded with a low warning rumble, not quite a growl, but an unmistakable message. Rob stopped, his eyes darting between Sarah and the dog. "She didn't have to tell me anything," Sarah said. "The bruises spoke for themselves." Rob's expression darkened. "She's clumsy, falls a lot. If you're implying what I think you are, you'd better have proof." Sarah said nothing, keeping her face neutral. She could hear faint sounds from the direction Rob had come, from voices and radio static. The police had arrived at the security office. Rob heard them too, his expression shifting as he calculated his options. "Fine," he said, finally taking a step back. "We'll do this by the book. But I'm calling my lawyer, and when this is cleared up, I'll own that service dog, and whatever pathetic disability check you live on." Sarah remained silent, watching as Rob turned and walked back toward the security office, his posture stiff with barely contained rage. Only when he was out of sight did she release the breath she'd been holding, reaching down to stroke Max's head. "Good boy," she whispered. Max whined softly, looking in the direction Lily had gone. Sarah nodded. "Let's go find her," they continued, down the service corridor, eventually emerging into a small employee break area where Julie sat with Lily. The child was hunched over a paper cup of water, her face pale, her eyes huge with fear. Is he gone?" she whispered as soon as she saw Sarah. "The police are here now," Sarah assured her. "You're safe." Max immediately went to Lily, pressing against her side in a way that was becoming familiar. The child wrapped an arm around him, burying her face in his fur. Julie's radio crackled with activity. "They've detained him in the security office," she reported. After listening to the transmission, Elena is talking to the officers. They want to bring Lily there to speak with them. Sarah felt Lily stiffen against Max. "I don't think that's a good idea," she said quietly. "She shouldn't have to be in the same space as him, even with police present." Julie nodded in understanding. "I'll see if they can come to us instead." She stepped away to use her radio, leaving Sarah alone with Lily and Max. "You were very brave," Sarah told Lily, sitting beside her. "Max is really proud of you. See how he's staying right next to you? That's what he does when he's protecting someone he cares about." Lily looked up, her eyes still frightened, but a hint of something else breaking through. Perhaps trust. "He's the bravest dog ever," she whispered. "Braver than Buddy was." She hesitated, then added, "Do I have to go home with Rob now?" The simple question broke Sarah's heart. The child's fear so palpable, it seemed to fill the small room. "And no, Lily," she said firmly. "You don't have to go with him. The police and Miss Elena are going to make sure you're somewhere safe." "But where will I go?" Lily asked, the practical concern of a child who had learned too early that adults couldn't always be trusted to protect her. Sarah hesitated, uncertain of the answer. Foster care was the likely outcome, at least temporarily, but she knew enough about the system to understand its flaws and limitations. Before she could formulate a response, Julie returned. "The officers are coming here," she reported, "and Elena has some news. They've located Lily's mother. She's at Mercy Hospital." Sarah felt Lily tense beside her. "Is Mommy hurt?" the child asked, her voice small. Julie exchanged glances with Sarah. "Elena will explain everything, sweetie. She'll be here in just a minute." Lily's fingers tightened in Max's fur, the German Shepherd responding by settling more firmly against her. Sarah felt a weight of responsibility descending on her shoulders. What had begun as a chance encounter was rapidly becoming something much more complicated. And she couldn't shake the feeling that Max had brought Lily into their lives for a reason. Elena arrived with 2 police officers, a male and female, both with the measured composure of professionals who had seen it all. Elena knelt in front of Lily, her expression gentle but serious. "Lily, your mom is in the hospital," she explained. "She had an accident at home, and a neighbor called an ambulance. She's going to be okay, but she needs to stay there for a little while to get better." Sarah caught the careful wording "accident," likely a euphemism for whatever violence had occurred. Lily seemed to understand the subtext, her small face solemn. "Did Rob hurt her bad this time?" she asked directly. The female officer exchanged glances with her partner, then sat beside Lily. "My name is Officer Ramirez," she said. "Can you tell me what happened at your house this morning before you came to the mall?" Lily leaned against Max, drawing strength from the dog's steady presence. "Rob and Mommy were fighting because I spilled my juice. He said I did it on purpose to ruin his car, but I didn't." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He pushed Mommy really hard when she tried to clean it up." She hit her head on the counter. "There was blood." Officer Ramirez nodded, writing in her notebook, "What happened after that, Lily?" "Rob said we had to go to the mall to buy cleaning stuff for the car. He said Mommy was fine, just being dramatic. He made me leave her there, on the kitchen floor." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't want to go, but he grabbed my arm really tight." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing the fingerprint bruises Sarah had seen earlier. The male officer stepped outside, speaking quietly into his radio while Officer Ramirez continued, "You're being very brave, Lily. Did your mom say anything before you left?" Lily nodded. "She told me to take Teddy. She always says that when Rob gets really mad." She clutched the stuffed bear tighter. "Teddy keeps her secrets," Sarah explained about the recording device, showing Officer Ramirez how it worked. The officer's professional demeanor cracked slightly when she heard the recorded abuse, her jaw tightening with controlled anger. "This is important evidence," she said. "We'll need to take the bear temporarily, but I promise you'll get him back." Lily's face crumpled. "But Teddy keeps me safe." Sarah intervened. "Maybe Officer Ramirez could make a copy of Teddy's recordings? That way Teddy can stay with Lily." The officer considered this. "We can try. Our tech unit might be able to download the files without taking the device." She smiled at Lily. "Would that be okay? Teddy would stay with you, and we'd just borrow his secrets for a little while?" Lily nodded hesitantly. Elena, who had been consulting with the male officer, returned to their group. "Lily, we need to figure out where you're going to stay tonight. We have some nice foster families who take care of children when their parents need time to get better." Lily's grip on Max tightened, her eyes wide with fear. "Can't I stay with Sarah and Max?" "Please?" The request caught Sarah completely off guard. She had spent the past 3 years carefully controlling her environment, managing her PTSD triggers, and maintaining the structured routine that kept her functioning. The idea of suddenly becoming responsible for a traumatized child was terrifying. And yet, she looked at Max, who had not left Lily's side since the moment he'd first sensed her distress. Her service dog, who was trained to focus exclusively on her needs, had somehow expanded his circle of protection to include this small, broken child. It felt significant somehow, like the universe was nudging her towards something important. I don't know if that's possible," Sarah stammered. "I'm not a certified foster parent." Elena studied her thoughtfully. "There are emergency placement options for unique situations. Given Max's clear bond with Lily and her comfort with you, it could be considered. But it would require background checks, home assessment." "I'm a veteran with PTSD," Sarah said bluntly. "I have a service dog for a reason," Elena nodded, "which would normally be a consideration, but in this case might actually be beneficial. You understand trauma responses better than most potential placements." She glanced at Lily, who was watching their exchange with desperate hope. "Let me make some calls. It might be possible for a short-term emergency placement." As Elena stepped away to use her phone, Officer Ramirez continued gathering information from Lily. The child was exhausted, the emotional toll of the day evident in her drooping shoulders and heavy eyelids. Yet she answered each question clearly, her responses showing a maturity beyond her years. Sarah felt a complex mix of emotions, fear. Predominant among them, was she really considering taking responsibility for this child? Her therapist would call it impulsive, perhaps even self-sabotaging. And yet, something deeper than logic was operating here, a pull she couldn't quite explain. Max nudged her hand, bringing her attention back to the present. He had always been her anchor, her tether to reality when flashbacks threatened to sweep her away. Now he seemed to be guiding her toward a new path, one she would never have chosen for herself. Elena returned her expression cautiously positive. "I've spoken with my supervisor and explained the unique circumstances. Given Lily's clear comfort with you and Max, her current traumatized state, and the limited emergency options available, they're willing to consider a temporary placement. It would require a home safety check and emergency foster certification process, but they could fast-track it." Sarah took a deep breath. "What about Rob? Won't he fight this?" "He's been taken into custody," Elena explained. "Based on Lily's testimony, the recordings, and her mother's statement from the hospital, there's a temporary protective order in place already, and charges being filed. He won't be released tonight at minimum," Officer Ramirez added. "We found evidence at the residence consistent with Lily's account. It's a strong case." Sarah looked at Lily, who had finally succumbed to exhaustion, her small body leaning against Max, her eyes closed in fitful sleep. The German Shepherd remained perfectly still, his body a pillow for the traumatized child, his eyes watching Sarah with what seemed like expectation. "What would I need to do?" Sarah asked finally. Elena smiled. "Let's start with a home assessment. If you're really willing to consider this, Sarah nodded, feeling simultaneously terrified and strangely certain. I'm willing to try, yeah, for her sake. And for her own, she realized with sudden clarity. Perhaps this was part of her healing journey too, a way to transform her own trauma into something meaningful. Max's tail thumped once against the floor, his dark eyes seeming to approve of her decision. Sarah's apartment was modest but meticulously organized, a one-bedroom unit in a quiet complex with a small fenced patio area, perfect for Max's needs. She had chosen it specifically for its security features: solid doors, good lighting, minimal neighbors, and proximity to the VA hospital where she received treatment. It was her sanctuary, carefully curated to minimize triggers and maximize stability. Now, as she unlocked the door with Lily half asleep beside her, Max leading the way, she saw it through new eyes. Would a child find it sterile? Too austere? There were no decorative touches, no family photos, nothing frivolous or colorful. Even the furniture was chosen for functionality over comfort. "This is where you and Max live?" Lily asked, her voice small with exhaustion. "Yes," Sarah replied, "and you'll stay here tonight if that's okay with you." Lily nodded, clutching Teddy tighter as she took in her surroundings. The social worker who had accompanied them, a different one from Elena, named Marcus, completed his inspection, efficiently checking for safety hazards, adequate food, basic necessities. He seemed satisfied with what he found. "Everything looks appropriate for emergency placement," he confirmed. "I've got the temporary authorization paperwork. Here, we'll need to schedule a follow-up home study if this extends beyond the initial 72 hours. He handed Sarah several forms. "These outline your responsibilities as a temporary caregiver and include contact information for emergency support." After Marcus left, Sarah stood in her living room, feeling suddenly out of her depth. Lily remained. Near the door, Max still at her side, her eyes taking in every detail of the unfamiliar space. "Are you hungry?" Sarah asked, realizing she had no idea what children actually ate. Lily shrugged, a non-committal gesture that seemed to require minimal engagement. Sarah recognized the response, understood. It was likely a survival mechanism the child had developed to avoid drawing attention to her needs. "How about we look in the kitchen together and see what we can find?" Sarah suggested, trying a different approach. In the kitchen, Sarah realized her food supplies were woefully inadequate for a child. Protein bars, canned soup, frozen meals, nothing that would appeal to a 5-year-old. She made a mental note to grocery shop tomorrow. "I can make soup," she offered, "or we could order pizza." Lily's eyes widened slightly at the mention of pizza. "Really? Rob never lets us get pizza. He says it's wasteful." Decision made, Sarah placed the order, noting how Lily relaxed incrementally as the evening progressed. By the time they finished eating, the child was yawning steadily, her eyelids heavy. The sleeping arrangements presented another challenge. Sarah's apartment had only one bedroom and no couch that converted to a bed. She quickly reorganized her room, creating a nest of blankets and pillows on the floor beside her bed. "Is this okay for tonight? We can get something better tomorrow." Lily nodded, but as Sarah helped her get ready for bed using a t-shirt as a makeshift nightgown, she noticed the child growing increasingly anxious. "What's wrong, Lily?" she asked gently. "What if Rob comes here?" Lily whispered, her fear palpable in the darkened room. "What if he finds me?" Mom, Sarah sat on the edge of the makeshift bed. "Rob is with the police tonight," she explained, "and this building has security doors. Nobody can get in without a key." She hesitated, then added, "And Max is here. He's better than any alarm system, as he are." If understanding his role in this conversation, Max settled on the floor next to Lily's blanket nest, his body positioned between the child and the bedroom door. Lily immediately curled toward him, one hand resting on his fur. "He'll wake up if anyone tries to come in?" Lily asked. "Instantly," Sarah assured her. "Max is specially trained to be alert, even when he's resting." This seemed to satisfy Lily. her body gradually relaxing as exhaustion overcame fear. Within minutes, she was asleep, her breathing deep, and even Teddy, clutched against her chest, Max a protective sentinel beside her. Sarah watched them from her bed, a complex emotion tightening her chest. For 3 years, Max had slept beside her bed, his presence keeping the nightmares at bay, his weight grounding her when flashbacks threatened. Tonight he had chosen to guard Lily instead, following some instinct Sarah couldn't fully understand, but somehow trusted. Sleep was elusive for Sarah, her mind racing with questions and concerns. What had she gotten herself into? Was she equipped to help this traumatized child? What if her own PTSD was triggered by the responsibility? The practical considerations alone were daunting. Where would Lily sleep long term? What about clothes? School supplies. Around 2 a.m., a sound jolted Sarah fully awake. Lily was whimpering in her sleep, her small body twitching with nightmare terror. Before Sarah could react, Max was already responding, pressing gently against the child, his weight a comforting presence. The whimpering subsided Lily's hand instinctively, finding Max's fur even in sleep. Sarah watched in amazement as her service dog expertly performed the same grounding technique he used for her own night terrors. The scene crystallized something in her mind. This wasn't coincidence or impulse. Max had recognized something in Lily, a kindred spirit, perhaps someone whose wounds matched Sarah's own in some fundamental way. Morning brought new challenges. Lily woke disoriented, momentarily frightened, until she spotted Max. "I thought it was a dream," she whispered, reaching for the dog. Sarah had already been up for hours, making lists, researching resources, calling in support. Her first call had been to Dr. Martinez, her PTSD therapist, explaining the situation and asking for guidance. Her second call to Captain Rodriguez, her former commanding officer now working with Veterans Support Services. "We need to get you some clothes and things," Sarah told Lily as they ate breakfast, simple cereal with banana slices. "And I thought maybe we could visit your mom at the hospital. Oh, would you like that?" Lily's face lit up. "Can Max come too?" "I'm not sure about hospital rules," Sarah said honestly. "But he's a service dog, so maybe—" As if summoned by the conversation, Sarah's phone rang, Elena's name appearing on the screen. The social worker had updates. Lily's mother, Jennifer, was improving and asking for her daughter. Rob remained in custody, but his family had hired an expensive lawyer who was already making noise about false accusations and parental rights. "We're building a case," Elena assured Sarah. "The recordings from the teddy bear are compelling evidence, and your testimony about finding Lily will be important." After the call, Sarah sat quietly processing the information. This temporary arrangement was becoming more complicated with each passing hour. She looked at Lily, who was tentatively petting Max, her movements still cautious, as if expecting to be reprimanded at any moment. "Lily," Sarah said gently, "no matter what happens today or tomorrow, I want you to know that you're safe now. Lots of adults are working to make sure you and your mom stay safe." The child nodded, though doubt lingered in her eyes. Sarah understood that trust would come slowly, if at all. Children who had learned that adults couldn't protect them didn't easily unlearn that lesson. Max nudged Sarah's hand, then moved to Lily's side, the connection between them impossible to miss. "Max believes you're safe too," Sarah added, "and he's never wrong about these things." For the first time since the mall, a tiny smile appeared on Lily's face, fleeting, but real. It was a beginning, Sarah thought, a small, fragile hope sprouting in damaged soil. Mercy Hospital was a sprawling complex of interconnected buildings. Sarah navigated the maze with Lily beside her, Max walking perfectly in his service dog position. They had stopped at a department store on the way, purchasing a few essential clothing items for Lily and a small backpack decorated with butterflies that the child had admired quietly. At the main reception desk, Sarah explained their purpose. "We're here to visit Jennifer Carter. She was admitted yesterday." The receptionist checked her computer. "Are you family?" "Juan, this is her daughter," Sarah explained, gesturing to Lily, who was partially hiding behind her leg. The woman's expression softened. "Oh yeah, she's been asking for you, sweetie. Third floor, room 312. She glanced at Max. "Service dogs are allowed, but please keep him close." In the elevator, Lily's anxiety became more pronounced, her small hand clutching Sarah's tightly. What if Mommy is really hurt?" she whispered. "The doctors are taking good care of her," Sarah assured her, though truthfully she had no idea what condition Jennifer Carter might be in. Elena had been vague, saying only that she was stable. Room O, 3I12, was at the end of a long corridor. Sarah knocked softly before entering. The woman in the hospital bed looked younger than Sarah had expected, perhaps early 30s, with Lily's same delicate features. Her face was badly bruised, one eye swollen shut. A line of stitches running along her hairline, an IV line ran into her arm, and a monitor beeped steadily beside the bed. "Mommy!" Lily broke from Sarah's side, rushing to the bed. Jennifer's good eye filled with tears as she carefully embraced her daughter. "Lily, baby, I was so worried." Her gaze lifted to Sarah. "Questioning!" "I'm Sarah Jenkins," Sarah introduced herself. "I found Lily at the mall yesterday." Understanding dawned in Jennifer's expression. "You're the one who helped her, the social worker told me." Her eyes moved to Max, and this must be the famous Max. Lily was already explaining excitedly, "Mommy, Max heard me crying when nobody else did, and he brought Sarah to help me, and he scared Rob away, and Teddy told the police everything, and now I'm staying with Sarah and Max, and we brought you something." She reached into her new backpack, pulling out a small stuffed dog they had purchased at the store. "He looks like Max, so you won't be alone." Jennifer accepted the toy, her hands trembling slightly. "Thank you, baby." She looked at Sarah, and "Thank you for everything." Sarah nodded uncomfortably with the gratitude. "Max did all the work, really." A nurse entered, checking Jennifer's vitals. "Looking better today." "Mrs. Carter," she said cheerfully, "doctor says if you continue improving, you might go home tomorrow." After the nurse left, Jennifer's expression grew serious. "Lily, sweetie, can you take Max to look out the window for a minute? I need to talk to Sarah." The child nodded, leading Max to the window, where a view of the hospital garden provided distraction. Jennifer turned to Sarah, her voice low. "They told me you're taking care of Lily temporarily. I can't thank you enough." "It's no problem," Sarah said automatically. "She's a great kid." Jennifer's good eye filled with tears. "I failed her so completely. I should have left him years ago, should have protected her better." Sarah recognized the self-recrimination, understood it intimately from her own therapy sessions. "You did protect her," she said firmly. "That recording device in the teddy bear was brilliant. You were gathering evidence, building an escape plan." "Not fast enough," Jennifer whispered. "He could have killed her, could have killed me." She glanced toward Lily, making sure she wasn't listening. "The police said he's out on bail already. His family has money and connections." Sarah felt a chill. "Already? It's only been a day." Jennifer nodded. "His lawyer is already spinning everything, claiming I fell accidentally, that Lily is confused, that the recordings are taken out of context." Her hand tightened on the blanket. "I'm terrified, Sarah. The protective order won't stop him if he decides to come after us." Before Sarah could respond, Elena arrived carrying a file folder. "Sorry to interrupt," she said. "I have some updates." She nodded to Sarah, then turned to Jennifer. "The judge has granted emergency custody to you and approved the temporary placement with Miss Jenkins until you're released and alternative housing can be arranged." "What about Rob?" Jennifer asked, the fear evident in her voice. Elena's expression was grim. "As you know, he's out on bail with orders to stay away from both of you. We're working on finding you a place in a confidential shelter once you're discharged." Lily returned from the window, catching the end of the conversation. "I don't want to go to a shelter," she said firmly. "I want to stay with Sarah and Max." The Adults exchanged glances. Elena spoke carefully. "Lily, the arrangement with Sarah is just temporary until your mom is better." "Oh, but Rob will find us at a shelter," Lily insisted with the clear logic of a child who had learned to anticipate danger. "He always says he has friends everywhere, but he doesn't know Sarah or where she lives." Jennifer looked stricken. "She's right. He has connections all over the city. His brother is a police officer. His cousin works for the county." Sarah found herself speaking before fully processing the implications. "You could both stay with me, just until something more permanent." "Can be arranged." Elena raised her eyebrows. "That's generous but complicated from a legal standpoint, and your apartment is quite small for 3 people." "I have a friend with a rental property," Sarah said, thinking of Captain Rodriguez, who had offered help during their morning phone call. "It's a duplex. He uses the upper unit occasionally, but the lower is empty. It's secure and private." Jennifer studied Sarah. "Why would you do this for us? You don't even know us." Sarah glanced at Max, who had returned to Lily's side, the child's hand resting comfortably on his back. How could she explain the connection she felt, the sense of purpose that had been missing since her medical discharge? "Sometimes people come into your life for a reason," she said finally, "and sometimes a very smart dog makes the introduction." Elena made notes in her file. "I'll need to verify this rental property meets safety requirements, and there would be ongoing case management, regular visits." Jennifer reached for Sarah's hand. "I don't know how to thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Sarah cautioned. "Let's see if we can make it work first." As they left the hospital, an hour later, Lily skipping between Sarah and Max with more animation than she'd shown previously, Sarah wondered if she was making a terrible mistake, or perhaps the most important decision of her life. The next 3 days passed in a whirlwind of activity. Captain Rodriguez, true to his word, arranged for Sarah and Lily to inspect the duplex, a modest but well-maintained property in a quiet neighborhood. The lower unit had 2 bedrooms, a small yard, and importantly, a security system with cameras. "It's perfect," Sarah told Rodriguez as Lily explored the bedrooms, Max following dutifully behind. "But I can't afford market-rate rent right now." "Rodriguez." A burly man with salt and pepper hair waved away her concern. "Veterans Housing Initiative," he explained, "part of our outreach program. You'd be helping me fulfill my grant requirements by living here." He winked, letting her know it was partially a face-saving fiction. But Sarah appreciated the gesture. Elena approved the property, conducting a thorough inspection and helping navigate the paperwork for Jennifer's discharge to the new location. Protective orders were reinforced, and the address was classified in the system accessible only to specific authorized personnel. Sarah found herself thrust into an unexpected role, part protector, part caseworker, part friend. She coordinated with Jennifer's nurse about medication schedules, contacted Lily's school to arrange for homework packets and temporary absence, met with her own therapist to discuss coping strategies for the added stress. Dr. Martinez had been cautiously supportive. "This could be therapeutic for you, Sarah, facing your protective instincts in a controlled environment, but we need to establish clear boundaries and exit strategies." The morning Jennifer was to be discharged, Sarah woke early to find Lily already awake, sitting on the floor beside her makeshift bed, drawing pictures. Max lay beside her, his head on his paws, watching the child work. "What are you drawing?" Sarah asked. Lily held up the paper. "It's you and me and Max and Mommy at our new house, Somewhere." The crayon figures stood holding hands in front of a simple house, a large brown dog positioned protectively beside them. What struck Sarah was the sun in the corner of the drawing, bright yellow with a smiling face. It was the first hopeful image Lily had created. "It's beautiful," Sarah told her. "Maybe we can hang it up at the new house." Lily beamed. "Can we get Mommy now?" At the hospital, Jennifer was dressed and waiting, her bruises now fading to yellowish-green, her stitches stark against her pale skin. She still moved gingerly, clearly in pain, but her eyes brightened when Lily rushed into the room. "Ready to go to our new home?" she asked, hugging her daughter carefully. The nurse reviewed discharge instructions with Sarah, while Jennifer signed paperwork. "She'll need help for a few days," the nurse explained. "No lifting, nothing strenuous. The concussion symptoms may continue: headaches, dizziness, light sensitivity." Sarah nodded, taking mental notes. This was familiar territory for her, accustomed as she was to managing her own medical needs and limitations. "I'll make sure she rests." As they left the hospital, Sarah remained vigilant, scanning the parking lot with the heightened awareness that never fully left her after her deployments. Max, too, seemed on alert, his posture more watchful than usual. They made it to Sarah's car without incident, Jennifer settling carefully into the passenger seat, while Lily buckled herself into the booster seat Elena had provided. "Thank you for this," Jennifer said softly as they drove. "I know it's an imposition." Sarah kept her eyes on the road, checking the rearview mirror regularly. "It's not an imposition." She hesitated, then added, "After my last deployment, I felt useless, like I couldn't protect anyone anymore, not even myself. This feels like a purpose." Jennifer studied her. "Elena mentioned you were military. Afghanistan?" "3 tours," Sarah confirmed. "The last one ended badly. I took out our convoy. I was the only survivor." She rarely spoke about this with anyone, but somehow it felt important for Jennifer to understand. "Survivor's guilt?" Jennifer asked with the directness of someone familiar with trauma. Sarah nodded. "Among other things. Max helps keeps me functional." Jennifer was quiet for a moment. "We're both survivors then, just different battlefields." They arrived at the duplex, Sarah parking in the attached garage, another security feature she appreciated. Rodriguez had stocked the refrigerator and pantry with basics, and Elena had arranged for Jennifer's essential belongings to be brought over: clothing, toiletries, and Lily's favorite toys. The place was sparsely furnished but clean and safe. As Jennifer settled on the couch, clearly exhausted from even this minimal activity, Lily explored the space with growing excitement. "Sarah, look! I have my own room, and there's a backyard for Max!" "Speaking of Max," Sarah said carefully, "I should probably head home and let you two get settled." This was the awkward part, the transition from emergency caregiver back to her own life. She had already stayed longer than originally planned, the temporary placement extending as Jennifer's discharge was delayed. Lily's face fell. "You're leaving? But who will keep us safe?" Jennifer reached for her daughter. "Sweetie, Sarah has her own home and life. She's done so much for us already." Sarah felt torn. The rational part of her knew she should return to her apartment, resume her carefully structured routine, recalibrate after days of disruption. Yet the thought of leaving Lily and Jennifer alone so soon after Jennifer's discharge concerned her. "I could stay one more night," she found herself offering, "just to make sure you're both comfortable with the security system and everything." Max's ears perked up at this, his tail thumping once against the floor. Jennifer looked relieved, though. She tried to hide it. "Only if you're sure it's not too much trouble." "No trouble," Sarah assured her, though her therapist would certainly have opinions about this boundary extension. That evening, after getting Jennifer and Lily settled, Sarah sat on the porch step, Max beside her. She called Rodriguez to update him. "They're safe for now," she reported, "but I'm concerned about long-term security." "Morris has connections," Rodriguez agreed, "and money for expensive lawyers." He paused. "How are you holding up Jenkins? This is a lot to take on with your own recovery still in progress." Sarah watched the sunset, thinking about the question. "Honestly, better than expected. Having something to focus on besides my own issues is helpful. Just don't overextend," Rodriguez cautioned. "Remember what the flight attendants say, put on your own oxygen mask first." After ending the call, Sarah remained outside processing the events of the past few days. Max nudged her hand, sensing her contemplation. "What have we gotten ourselves into, buddy?" she asked softly. One night extended to 2, then 3. Sarah found herself reluctant to leave Jennifer still weak from her injuries and Lily, who had nightmares without Max's comforting presence. She told herself it was temporary, just until Jennifer regained more strength, just until Lily felt more secure in the new environment. On the 4th morning, Sarah received a call from Elena. "We have a court date," the social worker informed her, "tomorrow at 9 a.m. Both Jennifer and Lily need to be there, and it would be helpful if you could attend as well to testify about finding Lily at the mall." "What's the hearing for?" Sarah asked, stepping onto the porch to avoid Lily overhearing. "Rob is contesting the protective order and seeking visitation rights," Elena explained, her voice tight with professional restraint. "His lawyer is arguing that Jennifer's injuries were accidental, that Lily is being coached, and that the recording device constitutes illegal surveillance." Sarah felt a surge of anger. "That's ridiculous. The recordings clearly show abuse." "I know," Elena sighed, "but his lawyer is good, very good at spinning narratives and creating doubt. The judge needs to hear from everyone involved, including you, as an objective third party who witnessed Lily's initial disclosure." After the call, Sarah returned inside to find Jennifer at the kitchen table, her face pale with pain. "Court tomorrow?" she asked, having obviously overheard. Sarah nodded. "Elena thinks Rob is trying to manipulate the system." Jennifer's hands trembled as she set down her coffee cup. "He will. And he's good at it, Sarah. So charming, so reasonable in public." Her voice dropped. "That's why nobody believed me before, teachers, doctors. Even my own parents thought I was exaggerating or making it up. The recordings change things," Sarah reminded her. "Physical evidence is harder to dismiss. His lawyer will say, 'I planted them to frame him,'" Jennifer said, with the weary certainty of someone who had been through this before, "that I'm an unstable mother trying to alienate a loving stepfather." From the hallway came the sound of Lily's voice talking softly to Max. Both women fell silent as the child entered the kitchen, the German Shepherd at her side. Over the past days, Max had developed a routine, moving between Sarah and Lily as needed, somehow intuiting when each required his support most. "Can we go to the park today?" Lily asked, her mood lighter than it had been since Sarah met her. The security of the new home and her mother's presence had begun to restore some of her childhood enthusiasm. Jennifer and Sarah exchanged glances. "Not today, sweetie," Jennifer said carefully. "I need to rest, and Sarah probably needs to go home for a while." Lily's face fell. "But Max wants to run. Don't you, Max?" The German Shepherd's ears perked up at his name. Sarah considered the request. Taking Lily to a public park felt risky with Rob out on bail, but staying constantly inside wasn't healthy either. "What about the backyard?" she suggested. "It's fenced and private. We could kick a ball around." Lily accepted this compromise, though clearly disappointed, as they played a simple game of catch in the small yard, Max running happily between them. Sarah observed how the child's movements were becoming more natural, less guarded. Healing had begun, however fragile. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Sarah and Jennifer sat at the kitchen table preparing for court. Jennifer had printed photos documenting her injuries past and present, and organized the recordings from Teddy Bear by date and severity. "He's going to say I provoked him," Jennifer said, sorting through papers, "that I have mental health issues, that Lily's behavioral problems are my fault." Sarah had seen enough domestic violence cases during her military service to recognize the pattern classic abuser playbook, she agreed. "Blame the victim, create confusion about who's really at fault." Jennifer looked up, her eyes haunted. What if he wins? What if the judge grants visitation? Sarah didn't have a reassuring answer. The justice system was imperfect, especially in domestic cases, where evidence was often limited to testimony. Instead, she focused on practical matters. Let's prepare for all possibilities. If the ruling goes against you, what's the next step? They talked late into the night, developing contingency plans, discussing legal options. Jennifer's voice growing stronger as they strategized. Sarah recognized the transformation. Someone who had been victimized reclaiming agency through action, through planning. "You know," Jennifer said during a pause, "I was a good nurse before all this. Emergency department trauma cases never rattled." "Me?" She smiled sadly. "Ironic that I could help everyone except myself and Lily." "You are helping her," Sarah insisted. "The recordings, the evidence you've been gathering that took courage and foresight." Jennifer shrugged. "Too little too." "Late." "It's never too late," Sarah said, thinking of her own ongoing recovery. "Trust me on that." The next morning dawned gray and rainy, matching their somber mood. Sarah helped Jennifer select appropriate court clothes, conservative and respectable. Nothing that could be perceived as provocative or attention-seeking. For Lily, they chose a simple dress with leggings, her hair neatly braided. "Can Max come to court?" Lily asked as they prepared to leave. Sarah nodded. "He's my service dog, so he's allowed. He'll be right with us." The courthouse was an imposing structure, all marble columns and echoing hallways. Elena met them at the entrance, reviewing last-minute details. "Remember," she advised, "answer only what's asked. Don't volunteer additional information. Stay calm even if Rob's lawyer tries to provoke you." In the corridor outside the courtroom, they saw him. Rob stood with his lawyer, an expensive-looking man in a tailored suit. Rob himself was immaculately dressed in a conservative blue suit. His hair neatly styled, his demeanor subdued and serious. Seeing him, Jennifer tensed visibly, her breathing accelerating. Max pressed against Sarah's leg, alerting her to her own physiological response. The courthouse, with its institutional smell and echoing acoustics, had triggered her PTSD, her brain, momentarily confusing it with military tribunals and hospital corridors. She took a deep breath, centering herself. Lily had spotted Rob too, her small body going rigid with fear. Without prompting, Max shifted position, placing himself between Lily and her stepfather. The child's hand found the dog's fur, her anchor. "In the storm, remember?" Sarah said quietly to both Jennifer and Lily. "He can't hurt you here. We have truth on our side." As they were called into the courtroom, Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Her testimony might determine whether Lily and Jennifer remained safe or were forced back into contact with their abuser. She straightened her spine, drawing on her military bearing, and followed Elena through the heavy wooden doors, Max walking perfectly at heel, his presence a silent strength for all of them. The courtroom was smaller than Sarah had expected, more intimate, which somehow made it more intimidating. Judge Rivera, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and penetrating eyes, presided with an air of no-nonsense efficiency. She noted Max's presence with a brief nod acknowledging his status as a service animal. Rob and his attorney sat at one table while Jennifer, Elena, and Lily took the other. Sarah was directed to a waiting area outside since she would be testifying. Through the small window in the door, she could see Max settling under the table near Lily's feet, the child's hand occasionally dropping to touch his fur. When finally called to testify, Sarah entered with military posture, her voice steady as she swore to tell the truth. She recounted finding Lily at the mall, Max's unusual behavior, the child's disclosure, and the physical evidence of bruising. Rob's attorney, a man named Griffith, tried to undermine her credibility. "Ms. Jenkins, you suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, is that correct?" he asked, his tone sympathetic but undermining. "Yes," Sarah answered, simply refusing to be defensive. "And this condition can include symptoms such as paranoia, hypervigilance, and distorted perception, correct?" Elena objected. "Relevance, Your Honor?" "I'm establishing the reliability of the witness's observations," Griffith explained smoothly. Judge Rivera allowed the question with reservation. Sarah took a deep breath. "PTSD can include hypervigilance?" "Yes, but that makes me more observant, not less." I saw bruises on Lily's arms in a pattern consistent with adult fingers. That's not distorted perception, that's objective evidence. Griffith. Change tactics. You have no formal training in child welfare, correct? No social work degree, no background in family counseling? I have military training in recognizing signs of abuse and trauma, Sarah countered, and 3 years of therapy that's given me extensive knowledge of trauma responses. The questioning, continued Griffith, attempting to paint Sarah as an unstable veteran who had inserted herself inappropriately into a family matter. Sarah maintained her composure, remembering Elena's advice to answer only what was asked without volunteering additional information. When dismissed, Sarah returned to the waiting area, her heart pounding. Court proceedings triggered her anxiety, reminding her of military reviews after the IED incident. She focused on her breathing techniques, counting silently to manage the adrenaline surge. Jennifer testified next, her voice, initially shaky but growing stronger as she described the pattern of abuse, the escalating violence, and her efforts to protect Lily. Griffith was merciless, suggesting she had mental health issues, was an unfit mother, had provoked the incidents herself. Mrs. Carter, isn't it true you've been treated for depression in the past? He asked. Yes. After Lily was born, I had postpartum depression, Jennifer answered. And you've taken medication for anxiety and mood stabilization, correct? As prescribed. By my doctor. Yes, Jennifer confirmed. So you admit to being emotionally unstable, Griffith pressed. Elena objected. Mischaracterization, seeking proper medical treatment for depression, is not evidence of instability. The judge sustained the objection, but the implication hung in the air. Sarah could see Jennifer's shoulders slumping slightly under the onslaught. When Lily's turn came, Sarah held her breath. The child was brought to a special witness room, her testimony shown via closed-circuit television to protect her from having to face Rob directly. The court-appointed child advocate sat with her, asking gentle questions about her home life, her stepfather, and the incidents she had witnessed and experienced. Lily's responses were heartbreakingly matter-of-fact. Rob hurts Mommy when he gets mad. He said, if I told anyone, he'd hurt me worse and maybe kill my mommy. She showed the advocate her teddy bear, explaining its special powers with the straightforward logic of a child. Griffith's cross-examination was carefully modulated, his tone grandfatherly. Lily, sweetheart, has anyone told you what to say today? Did your mommy or Ms. Jenkins tell you what words to use? Lily shook her head. No, they just said to tell the truth. And do you sometimes get confused about what's true and what's pretend, like when you play make-believe? I know what's real, Lily insisted. Rob hurting Mommy is real. The blood was real. The most damning evidence came from the recordings. As the court listened to Rob's slurred voice threatening both Jennifer and Lily, Sarah watched the judge's expression harden. Even Griffith seemed momentarily at a loss, though he quickly recovered, arguing the recordings were taken out of context. My client admits to speaking harshly during arguments, he conceded, but these snippets fail to show the provocation, the full context of domestic disagreements. When Rob took the stand, he presented a completely different persona from the angry man Sarah had encountered in the mall corridor. He was soft-spoken, regretful, admitting to communication problems and parenting differences, but denying any physical abuse. Jennifer has struggled with emotional regulation, he explained. Sadly, she misinterprets normal discipline as abuse. I've only ever wanted what's best for Lily, who has behavioral issues that require firm guidance. It was a masterful performance, Sarah had to admit. If she hadn't seen Lily's bruises herself, hadn't heard the terror in the child's voice, she might almost have believed him. She could see some of the court personnel softening toward him, responding to his apparent reasonableness. After final arguments, Judge Rivera called a brief recess to review the evidence. Those tense 30 minutes felt like hours to Sarah, who paced the hallway, watching Jennifer sitting motionless at the table. Inside, Lily, leaning against her Mac, still positioned protectively at their feet. when the judge returned her expression. Was unreadable? Sarah slipped back into the courtroom, standing at the back as Judge Rivera delivered her ruling. Having reviewed all evidence and testimony, I find sufficient cause to maintain the protective order prohibiting Robert Morris from contacting either Jennifer Carter or Lily Carter. She fixed Rob with a stern gaze. The recordings are particularly troubling, Mr. Morris, and cannot be explained away as taken out of context. Sarah felt a wave of relief as the judge continued. Custody remains with Ms. Carter, and visitation is denied pending completion of a full psychological evaluation and anger management program. Rob's face darkened, his carefully constructed facade cracking slightly. He leaned toward his attorney, whispering urgently. Griffith nodded, then addressed the court. Your Honor, we intend to appeal this ruling on grounds of parental alienation and inadmissible evidence. Judge Rivera appeared unmoved. That's your right, counselor. Until then, the orders stand. She fixed Rob with a penetrating stare. And Mr. Morris, any violation of the protective order will result in immediate arrest. Am I clear? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Rob answered, his voice tight with controlled anger. As the court adjourned, Sarah watched Rob leaving with his attorney, his shoulders rigid with fury. This wasn't over, she realized. Men like Rob didn't accept defeat. They simply changed tactics.